My name's Jamie Lee, and today I want to talk about the TV series Succession. My buddy Tyrone from over the Circle Club, link in the description, told me about this series a long time ago and I never watched it. Then my buddy Taco, link also in the description, told me it was one of the greatest series that is currently on TV. Still didn't watch it. Then I got a screener for season 4, early screeners for season 4, and I thought maybe this is the universe trying to tell me something. Maybe third time is a charm, so maybe I should jump on board. Jumped on board and haven't been able to jump off. I binge watched season 1, episode 1, all the way through to season 4, episode 6, I think it was. Now I'm caught up to date and with everyone else on season 4, episode 8. But yeah, I binged it in a matter of 2 weeks. I liked it that much.
Okay then, anything else?
But I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, this isn't a series for everybody. Watch one episode, and if you like the one episode, it only gets better, so you'll probably like the rest. But I watched episode 1 with my husband, and he said it was too businessy and a bunch of rich pricks, you know, entitled pricks walking around in suits. And to be fair, it is rich, entitled pricks walking around in suits, but I got so much more out of it than that. It gave me an insight into how the other half live, how the wealthy, how the elite live. And I'm not talking like fancy parties and cars and like hot rich people, which, you know, there was that in there, sure, but it was much more than that to me, because I got to see you know, the struggles that they go through in their little wealthy bubble, you know, that they live in compared to us regular folk bubble that we live in. So I got to see like how they struggle with things, how they struggle with, you know, power, and more so, you know, the schemes and the deals and, you know, all these things that they have to do in order to climb their way to the top. In a way, it's kind of like art imitating life, because it's loosely based on a man who runs this powerful empire, which has their hands dipped in lots of baskets, like the political basket, you know, tech, media, things like this. Anyway, and it's about his family or his children who want to become his successor. So it's, you know, loosely based on that. So putting that into the show, we have Logan, who is this dominant, you know, one of the most powerful men in the country. He has the president in his pocket, you know, he pulls strings and people move like puppets. He is just this savage man who always is successful, let's be honest.
I'm a great revolutionary. A bit of fucking spice, a bit of fun, a bit of truth.
He is head of the most powerful empire in the world, Waystar Royco, and even though he's like a corporate god, you could say, he's still human, he's still elderly, and he's unwell. So when his illnesses start to come to life and people start to see that, specifically his children, they strike, they see this as an opportunity to, you know, force him down and to climb that corporate ladder to be the CEO and to run the company. And why I believe they're all fighting for that high position at the top is to gain their father's approval. They just think that being at the top and being the most powerful, you know, having that title, that status will gain their father's approval and gain his love. And that's something that none of the kids have ever got from either of their parents. And unfortunately, it's that cycle of abuse, because it looks like that Logan never got that same treatment either. I think they said in season 1 that, you know, he was raised by his uncle or something like that. So, you know, I don't know his backstory. Maybe we'll get a prequel to that. I'm not quite sure. But, you know, he had whip marks on his back. So we know that they were instigating that, you know, he was physically abused, so he probably didn't get much emotional love and care either, which has then created this cycle which is passed on to the kids, vice versa. So yeah, I believe that they're all fighting for that top spot of CEO so that they can gain their father's approval. That's deep down, but then obviously as the years have gone by, they probably like the taste of money, like the taste of, you know, getting their own way, as all people would, obviously, but unfortunately that's turned them into horrible people, and yeah, spoiled little brats.
You're pathetic. You're pathetic.
You're a fucking twat.
You look like shit, by the way.
In saying that, the children are my favorite part of the show. Kendall, Connor, I should say Connor before I forget him, because he's quite easily forgotten in this family. Shiv and Roman is my favorite. These kids are so unlikable. Like, you don't like any of them. The way that they're written is so well done. They're so complex and oh, they're terrible, but you also feel pity for them. You feel sad for all of them at some stage. And at some stage in the show, you're rooting for them to get their little victory or their little win. And unfortunately, that never happens. But what does happen is all these deals, these schemes, you know, they manipulate each other, they turn on each other. And just when you think they're coming together as a team.
When a team is a team,
it can't actually physically be beaten. It's impossible.
Something sneaky happens and conniving, and they just fight again to try and climb that corporate ladder. It is whiplash. It really is. This show gives me whiplash because I'm constantly torn between, what's happening and why it happened, and I second guess little things that they've done, because sometimes you think, oh, maybe they did that because of their past, their trauma, and then you see in the next episode that it was purely for gain. It was self-gain, or they wanted the power or something simple. So yeah, this show makes me really question a lot of the motives, and it keeps me suspenseful into what's happening next, but also makes me question why things have happened as well. So it's a show that really makes me think. The show falls under this big corporate umbrella where you've got business mixed with politics, and then you've also got all the players and all the characters underneath the umbrella, I guess you could say. But the show is really well written that it's so easy to follow along with what's happening. You don't need to be tech savvy in order to know what's going to happen next. You don't need to be business savvy in order to know what chaos is going to erupt from what so-and-so said or did in the show. It's really easy to follow. The plot is really interesting, and there is always some sort of drama happening in any of their lives. Always something on the edge of blowing up, sometimes literally. Which keeps you on your toes, and it's such an interesting show to watch. My next favorite thing is the comedy. We all know that. I always try and find movies or shows, even when they suck, I'm like, yeah, but it was funny though, right? I really like laughing in things. It breaks things up, and this is a show that really needs to be broken up because it is very serious. As I said, it's very business, it's very political, even though it's very character driven, and you do, just immerse yourself in all of these characters and how their brains work and how they function.
You trying to get inside my head. Don't open Pandora's box. There's just more dicks in there.
At the same time, it's still very serious. So these jokes are thrown in at the most perfect times, and it just evens everything out. So it's paced so well. The comedy just makes everything flow so much better. So it's not so depressing, if I'm being honest, because the world that they live in is kind of depressing. They're just chasing that next hit, I guess you could say, that next victory, that next win. And it's sort of like, you have everything, you have money, go and find what makes you happy now. Like, you don't need to be at the top. But again, I think that comes down to love. So if they had love, maybe they wouldn't be chasing for that top spot for daddy or whatnot. Anyway, I'm digressing there. Back to the humor. So the jokes are funny, but if I'm being honest with you, sometimes they're very inappropriate. Sometimes they're very mean, and sometimes they're very disgusting, which is probably why I like them, to be fair. But yeah, the comedy in this is top notch. Guaranteed every single episode there's a quotable moment in there that I probably use in my day-to-day life all the time. It's a really quotable show. It's a really funny show. It's a really interesting show, and I love it. I love it so much that I binged it in 2 weeks. So yeah, I really love it. I don't know how many more times I want to say that.
I'm happy for you.
Another thing that I like about the show, I said the writing, but a big part of that too is probably how balanced the writing is with the performances. Every single actor in this show is top notch, in my opinion. They all just play together so well, literally play sometimes, like play off each other and, manipulate each other and all these things going on. But acting wise, all of their performances are so freaking good. My friend sent me a video that like deep dives and analyzes or whatever the actors' behaviors and how they act to portray their character. And tiny things that I did not notice, like the way that Tom raises his voice when he's speaking with Shiv, like when he's being submissive to her, compared to when he talks to Greg and he's got that sort of dominant tone, like just the tone in his voice, the change of tone in his voice, between, how he talks to different characters is something that I never would have had a second guess over. I'm just like, he's acting, he's great, he's fantastic. But there's reasons why he's acting so fantastic. And yeah, people highlight them and it's so good to watch. And same with Kendall. Like, Kendall is amazing. Jeremy as Kendall is amazing. Like the tiny things, like his eye contact and, the way that he like moves his head at certain times to show that he's ashamed or emotional compared to when he's being aggressive and dominant, and that silly Ken that we know that's like rapping and oh my god, so cringy. But anyway, the different changes in their acting abilities to make their performances better, I didn't know until I watched this video, and I just think all of them do such an amazing job in this show, and they really bring their characters to life, which is very hard to do because, as I said before, all of these characters are unlikable. Every single one of them have done horrible things and said horrible things to each other and like regular folk like us living, outside of this wealthy bubble. And yeah, they're just really nasty people. They're so entitled and they're cruel to not just, the regular people, but each other. I couldn't imagine turning on my family ever, even if money was involved. And these kids are just, I think Logan calls them rats.
Fucking rats. Rats!
They're just terrible and so manipulative, and yeah, they're really unlikable characters, but the way that the actors portray them makes them at some points you feel empathy for them, and you also are rooting for them to get their little wins. So yeah, they do a great job with their performances as well. I also really love the iconic theme song or intro to this. I really enjoy it. It's not a soundtrack or a score that I would typically listen to. If I'm being honest, it's kind of like listening to the wealthy or this elite world, but without the fun and the glamour and, this luxurious lifestyle. It's sort of doomed. It's sort of depressing, but also in an uplifting way, if that makes any sense at all. It's a really catchy score. I really like listening to it, but at the same time, I feel like, wow, this would be, really heavy and just tonally so dark or doomed, depressing. I don't know how to describe it, but yeah, anyway, I like it. Whatever it is, whatever adjective we want to throw in there, I like it. With regard to pacing, I think all of the seasons so far have been really spread out, paced really well. I think that each character has been given equal amounts of time. They've each had their chance to shine and had their little moment of, tactic or scheming or whatever it was needed for the plot at the time. Each of them have had that moment. I'm just a little bit worried with the next moments because there's 2 episodes left, and I just think, how are they going to wrap everything up? I, in a way, want a happy ending because that's my personality. Like, I want them all to sort of break this cycle of abuse, break this cycle of wanting daddy's love and approval now that daddy isn't there. After the funeral episode, we might see some of that. I'm not too sure, but I sort of want them to break away and to just find their own happiness, whether it be Shiv raises the baby by herself or, her and Tom do find love or whatever it might be. I doubt that that's going to happen because that's a very toxic relationship that I'm not in support of. But whatever it might be, and, Kendall might rekindle his love with Rava and the kids or whatnot, and Roman, I don't know, maybe finds a different Gerri because that seems to be what motivates him, if that's the right word to use. Anyway, I don't know what's going to happen, and I think that's the best thing for me because normally in movies, or shows, you can sort of predict what way it's going to go, whether it's going to have a happy ending or if it's going to be a twist at the end. Even though you don't know the twist, you know that something might come, but this show has just been all over the place. Like, you finally think, oh, the kids are coming together, and then bam, a scheme is thrown into the mix and you're thrown the other way. You're looking left and they go right. So yeah, it's never been predictable. It's always been suspenseful and intense. You never know what's going to happen, and that's exactly how I would describe the last 2 episodes. I have no idea what's going to happen. I have no idea how this show is going to end, and that frustrates me, but it also makes me super excited to get those last 2 episodes. So if you're watching the show, I would love to hear your predictions on how you think it's going to end, and hopefully when this season is done and dusted, I can do some character rankings or episode rankings, or just throw in some funny jokes that I liked from the show, because as I said, every single season, every single episode, in my opinion, had a quotable, moment in there or something that I laughed at hysterically. So yeah, I'd like to do something like that in the future, but for now I'm just hanging for these last 2 episodes. If you've got to the end of this, thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think is going to happen in the last ones. If you haven't watched it, watch episode 1 because you might like this. I did not think I would enjoy this, and I loved it. As I said, I binged it in 2 weeks. Like, I smashed through this. I just pumped it and I love it. So yeah, give it a watch. Hopefully you enjoy it. If you like this video, could you please give it a like? If you're not already, please subscribe to my channel, and then head on over to my Instagram and give me a follow over there as well, please. Okay, sweethearts, have a good day. Bye.